All right, y'all. Here goes Laurel Hell Inn, a short story. AKA me. There is something at work in my soul, and I do not understand. Mary Shelley. Prologue. I always dreamed of this day. I am finally free of my childhood and can leave the demons where they were born and will hopefully die. I will follow this new path into uncharted territory with a soul unclaimed by the sorrow of my past. Today is the day I move on. I never thought I would find myself here again. When I left 3 years ago, I swore never to return. Time has a way of making you eat unpleasant words and swallow unpalatable choices. The sharp curve is coming to an end, and I see my destination looming before me. I grew up in the town of Hazelwood. I did my best to find a life outside of the vultures and social climbers that I was raised with. I tried to run from my father as far and as fast as I could. I know he loved me, somewhere in his being, beneath the greed and beneath the drink. He spent all of his time climbing higher on that social ladder. He always chased money like it was the answer to happiness. When he was not consumed by his insatiable thirst for wealth and status, he was drunk. His preoccupation with the life he wanted rather than the one he had led my mother out the door. She left when I was 10. As the years wore on and my father didn't make as much money or impress as many people as he liked, he became angry. His bitterness slowly bled into our shared home in the form of verbal torture. James was one of my father's financial advisors growing up, later becoming a friend. He also became my only ally in a very lonely world. When father would spiral out of control, James would always be there to pick up the pieces. I was never any more than the daughter of his friend, as it should have been. That was until I turned 18 and saw things differently. If my father wasn't a good enough excuse for fleeing, then my unwanted attraction to James was. I would not be back now, but for the call telling me of my father's illness. Even when he was horrible to me, I wanted to try. I always tried being a good daughter. I crept into the room as if the bareness of my feet would crush the delicate flowers of the ornate rug beneath me. James sat slumped in a corner by the fire, the same place he came to contemplate his troubles before I left. The heaps of flames illuminated his wavy black hair. His ashen complexion leapt up as if from the grave to seduce the plaintive demons of the night. So much has changed since I was here last, and I am almost ashamed that if I left in the first place. He is 15 years my senior, and while I left for good reason, I cannot help but feel guilty for the man I left behind. I fancied myself in love with him, even when I knew that could never be. I used to think he was the Gothic South's answer to Mr. Rochester, a beautiful vision among the cruel world, as untouchable as the sun. Now I find myself noticing the silver flecks stealing away the fierce color of his raven beard, and I wish I had stayed. He has always worn the look of a man weighed down, but I have never been privy to what that weight was. I've missed you, Charlotte. His voice was rough with sleep as he spoke. I missed you as well, James. The implication of our confessions burned silently between us. How is my father? I asked, trying to find a safer topic. He is dying, Charlotte. The doctor has given him 3 weeks, but no doubt he will live that long. But I doubt he will live that long. What? Why did no one call me? How long has this been going on? I shrieked. That's the thing, Lottie. He hasn't been sick at all. Just last week, he was closing on a new property, an inn he hoped to restore. The day after the closing, he started running a fever. The illness progressed and his vital signs grow more ominous by the day, but they can't find the reason why. I'm shocked by the tears I see gathering in his eyes. I reach out to wipe a drip of sorrow from his cheek, and he continues on. I should have done more for you, Lottie. I long ago accepted that your father was a lost cause, but I stayed around to keep you from the worst of his viciousness. I think, however, that I only added to his insatiable greed because of my profession. I looked for you when you left. I should have looked harder. I should have brought you back to me before now. His strange confession breaks open wounds that I have been running from for the past 3 years. I fall into his waiting arms and weep until sleep claims me, claims my morning for the night.